Following that breaking news here at CBS Sports HQ in the NFL, where Russell Wilson has reached an agreement on a massive contract extension with the Denver Broncos. That new deal is reportedly a 5-year deal, $245 million with $165 million in guaranteed money for Russ. It's a new era in Denver, new ownership group, a new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, of course, and Russ is their new franchise QB. That new era kicks off on Monday night, by the way, week 1. His old buddies, Seattle Seahawks, they'll get a chance to see what new money looks like. As it breaks down here, the contract details, $19 million, 2022, $5 million bonus, and then 23, almost the same numbers. Also with that $5 million bonus for Russell Wilson, new QB there in Denver, taking over week 1, Seattle, not too long from kickoff of the season. All right, senior NFL insider Jonathan Jones joined us here with that breaking news. And JJ, a lot of money coming for Russell Wilson at the age of 33, their franchise quarterback in Denver. Your reaction to this deal?
Not at all a surprise there in Denver when you trade for Russell Wilson, a guy of his caliber, of course, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, been to another one, a guy that you traded 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. You traded a quarterback in Drew Lock and Noah Fant tight end and Shelby Harris defensive lineman. You're not just going to keep Russell Wilson on his remaining contract that had about 2 years and $50 or so million on it. This was very much expected and anticipated, but it couldn't take place until the new ownership group, the Walton Penner ownership group in Denver, took over the team. They were approved by the other NFL owners on August the 9th. And then once that took place, that ownership, well, hey, they're the ones who have to pay Russell Wilson. They're the ones who have to put up all the guaranteed money into escrow per NFL rules. And so you can't make that call until you have ownership in place to make that call. And so because of that, now that happened less than 4 weeks after they were officially approved, Russell Wilson has his deal. And as we see there, in terms of average annual value, that's with new money. And so that's looking at the 5-year deal that has been tacked on to the remaining 2. He's really at 7 years with about $300 million, but how we do average annual value these days is over new money. We're still waiting to see exactly how much of the full guarantees are versus total guarantees. All those details still be working out. But no question about it, Russell Wilson yet again becoming one of the highest paid players in all of the NFL.
Right there behind Aaron Rodgers, of course. He's been there throughout camp and through preseason. We've seen him in action there. He does have different weapons than what he did in Seattle. When you look at it, where does the Denver Broncos kind of paying out for you there in the AFC as a whole this year?
Well, you got to look at their division, first of all. You have a Kansas City Chiefs team that's won that division 6 straight years. And then you have a Raiders team that made it to the playoffs last year. You have a Chargers team that underachieved down the stretch, no question about it, but got better on defense. And so, if you're looking at this, the Broncos, because they added Russell Wilson, I think a lot of people, as we see right there, 8th best odds to win the Super Bowl. You still got the Chiefs and Chargers. The Broncos, if that's the case, the Broncos are going to be competing for the 2nd or 3rd wild card in the AFC. And I think that's probably appropriate right now because you have a Chargers team that has continuity. Of course, you have a Kansas City Chiefs team that has continuity. But you have a Denver Broncos team with a first-year head coach in Nathaniel Hackett. Fantastic track record, minus how things ended in Jacksonville when things were a mess there. You have a second-year general manager in George Payton. They just lost Tim Patrick to IR earlier in this training camp, but he does have Russell Wilson fantastic weapons. Now, reports out of training camp, and I was out there one day earlier last month, now that we're in September, that it was sort of not great for the offense. I'll tell you this, Brandon. Nathaniel Hackett doesn't really believe in 7-on-7 football because he says it's not really real football. That's where a lot of the offense gets a lot of wins in training camp. So when you're playing 11-on-11, you don't get as many of those easier wins as 31 other teams around the league. And so I didn't really pay too much attention to the reports that the offense wasn't really doing that well or was sputtering. I very much believe in Russell Wilson. The Broncos, of course, believe in Russell Wilson, that they're going to get the Russell Wilson who, for the first 9.5 years, was one of the best young quarterbacks and best quarterbacks in NFL history, not the guy that we saw the second half of the year who came back far too early from that finger injury.
JJ, I'm always curious when we see these giant numbers for the QB market here, the 240, the 165, you think about the team as a whole moving forward. It's a 5-year deal. But big picture here, how does this kind of set them up in the long run? Because we talk about the AFC West, how it's been stacked and how it will be stacked with Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. They're not going anywhere. We saw what the Raiders did. How does this kind of affect them in the future with all this money going to Russell Wilson?
Yeah, and that's what we're still waiting for with the contract details. But if you want to compete, you have to have a quarterback in today's NFL. And if you're not going to draft one and have one on a rookie contract like the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, you're going to have to go out there, trade for one, and pay one a whole lot of money. And that's what the Denver Broncos are obviously doing right now. This will certainly give them a little bit of cap relief this year. You'd have to expect that's how most of these contracts are structured, of course. But as far as what this means for the long term, they have a quarterback that people want to come play with in Russell Wilson. He's not the scrambler that he has been in the past, but he's still one of the best deep ball throwers, not just in the NFL today, but in NFL history. You have a guy who is a proven and true leader. And so with all of that, the Denver Broncos, with fantastic facilities and a fantastic history there within that franchise, you have a team, an organization that free agents would be very attracted to. So the Broncos are set up very well. That's why you make such a big trade for Russell Wilson like they did several months ago. And now, of course, the bill comes due, and I think, quite frankly, they're very happy to swipe the credit card.
You can honestly say the best quarterback since they had Peyton Manning in the house there, won that Super Bowl not too long ago. I want to take a look at the AAV when we talk about those QBs that recently got paid. There's a lot of familiar names we talked about this summer. Murray, of course, getting his deal. Watson, Mahomes not too long ago, I think 2 years ago. And then you got Rodgers. The one name we don't see there, JJ, one we've talked about quite often this offseason, Lamar Jackson. If you're him in his camp there in Baltimore and you're looking at everybody getting paid, especially with Wilson, Murray, and Watson lately, how do you feel about this? I'm assuming you're happy because you got to know you're next.
Well, maybe. Deshaun Watson got a 5-year, $230 million contract that was fully guaranteed. Not just like total guarantees or sort of those flaky guarantees that agents sort of tell reporters like myself and then it's sort of repeated out there. He's getting $230 million in guaranteed money. Kyler Murray does not have a fully guaranteed contract. A lot of total guarantees that are very nice, but not a fully guaranteed contract. Aaron Rodgers got that extension. He's going to ultimately see that money unless he retires and has to pay a little bit of it back, but not a fully guaranteed deal. And now this is the third major quarterback contract that we have seen since Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed $230 million deal that is not fully guaranteed. And so the NFL and ownership, at least 31 other owners, I believe, are viewing the Deshaun Watson contract as an aberration, as a blip, as okay, well, they did that over in Cleveland with a very unique set of circumstances, but that doesn't mean that I have to. We've heard from Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti that he's not really interested in doing something like that. At least you can glean that from his comments regarding the Deshaun Watson contract back from the owners' meetings in the spring. And so if you're Lamar Jackson, you're looking at this, and if you want a fully guaranteed deal, well, now that there's been 1, 2, 3 quarterback contract extensions that have not been fully guaranteed, you don't love that. But if you're only concerned about average annual value, if that is your greatest concern, then yeah, the price keeps going up. But again, these contracts really, especially for a young quarterback or any young player like Lamar Jackson, it's about cash flow. It's about how much money you're getting paid in year 1, year 2, year 3. When can you get out of the deal? When can you get another bite at the apple? So often we see these players who are concerned about being the highest paid in terms of average annual value in the NFL because they get their faces on a graphic. But meanwhile, they don't make as much money over 4 or 5 years as some of their counterparts because they were so concerned about getting that win on the front end. So it depends on what Lamar Jackson really wants, what he's looking for. And again, the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson continue their contract negotiations.
If you are Lamar and seeing the latest domino here with Russell Wilson, seeing this deal today, does that maybe speed up things? Because he has mentioned in the past he doesn't want this to linger into the season when it comes to contract talks here with him in Baltimore.
Yeah, it just depends on what Lamar Jackson wants. I mean, does he want a fully guaranteed deal? And if he does, then this doesn't help. If he wants, to go up to highest average annual value like we just talked about, then yeah, that could help. It's all up to Lamar and what he wants, and Lamar's not talking about it publicly.
All right. We'll see how that pans out there for him. But elsewhere, of course, Russell Wilson, let's ride. It's a lot of money heading his way. QB1 there, Denver. Jonathan Jones, appreciate your time. Always breaking down the breaking news on that new extension there for Russell Wilson. It's a new day for Broncos country. A QB is locked in for 5 years. 240 mil reported numbers of 165 guaranteed. We'll see how that pans out throughout the rest of the day and this season. Week 1 is Seattle. Don't forget Pick 6 Pod. Those guys will most likely be talking about it. By the way, I'm curious. Did somebody get a tattoo?
2 tattoos.
Just throwing it out there. All right, Pick 6 down low. Give them a follow.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.